Today, I want to warn you about a different aspect of generative AI, which is less about AI itself and a lot more about the way that companies will be using it. Although this video deals with software a little bit, it's based less on what I've learned about programming and more about what I've learned about the startup economy over the years. What I want to talk about today is, how does the existence of generative AI change the way that companies deal with the public? And, much more importantly, how does the existence of generative AI change the way the public holds companies accountable or fails to? Because the AI screwed up is becoming the new, the dog ate my homework, or the Wi-Fi was down, and we can't afford to allow it to become the new get out of jail free card. Because if anyone can say anything they want and blame any negative consequences on generative AI, then we, as a society, are fucked. This is the Internet of Bugs. My name is Carl. My first programming job was in 1989, and my first tech startup was in 1999, so I've been around the block a couple of times. I want to start today by talking briefly about an AI-related public relations issue that Cursor ran into. I'm not going to go too deep into the issue. I've linked a Wired story below if you want more details. Cursor, quickly for any of you that don't know, is a code editor company whose selling point is how well it helps programmers integrate generative AI. For the record, I use it from time to time. I pay for a subscription to it. I don't have any other relationship with that company. And this video isn't sponsored. I have no business relationship with any other company or individual I mentioned in this video. So about a month or two ago, Cursor would log you out from one computer when you signed into a different computer. Somebody noticed this, they got annoyed, they complained to Cursor customer service and was told that being able to use Cursor from only one machine at a time was a security feature. They were annoyed by this, they posted about it, and there was an outcry, standardish kind of stuff, right? Now, I've been a part of a lot of conversations in companies about whether or not customers should be able to connect from more than one device at a time. There are pros and cons. Either answer is perfectly valid depending on what you're trying to accomplish. Cursor, though, responded to the outcry by making a change to allow people to log in from more than one place at a time. This isn't unusual. There was a similar incident with Adobe's Creative Cloud in 2013, I think. What was different this time, though, is that Cursor said, "We have no such policy. This is an incorrect response from a frontline AI support bot." Now, I have no reason to believe this isn't true, and that's a problem, because there was another similar problem with a ChatBot making up a policy at Air Canada in early 2024. But what I want to talk about today is, what if it wasn't true? Or what if it's not true next time? How would we know? How should that affect the way we respond? So AI, in addition to all its other issues, turns out to be well positioned to facilitate personal and corporate irresponsibility. And the internet certainly doesn't need any more irresponsibility. There are already way too many crappy, bug-ridden services on the internet that make it worse. We don't need an AI-enabled irresponsibility font as well. So there are three different aspects of this I want to talk through with you today. We as a society have a choice about how we handle these scenarios, but that choice needs to be an informed choice. So first scenario, if we extend the hypothetical situation touched on in our Cursor example, AI gives companies a potential way to adopt toxic policies that take advantage of their customers and employees in ways that they might be afraid to do if they didn't have the ability to blame the AI and then roll them back. Second, and we've seen a ton of this already, AI gives companies and individuals the ability to be lazy and to do shoddy work while trying to blame the AI instead of accepting responsibility for themselves. And lastly, AI gives companies and individuals, and even governments, the ability to attempt to use AI to justify unsavory actions. This is probably the most problematic of the three, and the one I'm most concerned about. So let me talk you through them one at a time. Going back to the Cursor example, like I said, I don't have any reason to believe that the Cursor one computer only policy wasn't a genuine AI hallucination. And I expect that the Air Canada chatbot issue linked below was a genuine AI hallucination, because unlike the Cursor example, the answer given by the AI in that case was in the customer's favor, not the company's. But the idea that troubles me is the idea that a company might take an action or create a policy that is hostile either to their customers or employees or other companies, because they believe that if they get in trouble for it, they can just blame some AI for hallucinating the issue and try to get out of responsibility that way. So for the sake of argument, let's take a purely hypothetical example, or at least an example that's hypothetical for purposes of this discussion today. Imagine a case where a company is supposed to do something that will cost it money. And imagine, again, purely hypothetically, that the company doesn't want to spend that money on what it's supposed to and would rather give out executive bonuses or do stock buybacks to drive up the stock price to make executives' portfolios more valuable. The company might, and again, this is purely hypothetical, create a system to come up with reasons why the company doesn't have to spend the money it's supposed to spend. They can get away with that as long as they can. And if it ends up being a problem, they can just say, oh, it was the AI's mistake, not our mistake. We'd never cheat our customers out of money intentionally. Alternately, a company could deliberately, well, hypothetically deliberately, train an AI to rip off their customers and then blame the AI if they get caught. For purposes of discussion today, it doesn't matter if the AI in question actually exists or how it might be trained. Just the fact that AI is now a familiar public relations strategy is enough for us to need to talk about it. We as a society need to decide how we want to handle this kind of issue. Part of that decision will be made by the courts interpreting existing laws. Part of that decision will be affected by public sentiment, protests, boycotts, and the actions of interested individuals. And part of that decision will be affected by new laws and regulations that are enacted as a result of decisions made by lawmakers, likely after interactions with both lobbyists and their constituents. I would advise you to think about this kind of hypothetical situation yourself and discuss it with your friends and members of your community so that in the event that such a situation does arise in the future, you know what you might want to talk to your government representative about, what businesses you might want to boycott, and or what peaceful protests you might want to attend, or maybe even help organize. Or not, make whatever decision you think is best for you. I would just encourage you to make it in an informed way. Okay, so on to the second most common scenario, the one where people just do crappy work and blame it on the AI. So there are two variants of this. One where the AI hallucination actually caused the problem, and one where the human was just lazy and just blamed the AI. For our purposes today, it doesn't matter which actually happened. This can happen a bunch of different ways. We've seen a lot of them in the news already, lawyers citing cases that don't exist, governments citing scientific studies that don't exist, that kind of thing. Some of those involve code written with egregious bugs in it, although I'm not going to go into much detail on the code part here because I have a companion video up on my other channel that talks about recent security problems either caused by or discovered by AI. Link up here and below. Like with the last scenario, we need to think through how we want to respond when this kind of thing happens. Should it affect our purchasing choices, our votes, our choices of what companies we do or don't want to work for or do business with? That's up to you. Just again, please think it through and decide how you want to handle it, how you want to talk about it with your friends and family members and your communities and your workplaces. This last scenario, it's scarier to me. I'm going to play a short clip here from Jason Pargin, who's a sci-fi author I really like. He explains this better than I could. Shameless uncompensated plug. His YouTube and TikTok channels are great. You should probably take a look. Links below as always.
The people in charge of making decisions want to be able to offload responsibility for those decisions onto a computer. They want to be able to sit across a table from you and say, "We're so sorry about these layoffs. If it was up to us, you would all keep your jobs." But we can assure you the AI has modeled every possible outcome, and it says this company literally will not survive another year unless we do these layoffs today.
Okay, now this is a huge problem, and it's particularly bad because it's unverifiable. First off, it's impossible to know if the AI did actually make the prediction that they say it did. Secondly, even if it did, we have no way of knowing if it was trained correctly. And then, even if it was trained correctly, we still have no way of knowing if it's correctly predicting the future. Now, it's inevitable that people and companies and likely governments are going to do this. It's only a matter of time. We can't prevent that from happening. All we can do is decide how we will respond and how those of us that have chosen to educate ourselves and understand that generative AI isn't magic will try to spread that understanding amongst our coworkers and friends and family. Just the existence of the current public conversation about AI, whether it's real or not, whether it's hype or not, creates the likelihood that all three of the situations will happen at some point, if they haven't already. And whether or not companies and governments will be able to use these excuses and continue to use them for upcoming years or decades is a matter for urgent discussion now. So I'm going to let Jason sum up my take on here and give him the last word.
If I let my dog drive my car and the dog drives the car off a bridge, the headlines should not say, "Dog crashes car." I crashed the car when I put the dog at the wheel. I made the mistake. The entire future hangs on whether or not we will hold people responsible for what the AI does.
Thanks for watching. Go check out Jason's channel, and let's be careful out there.